Welcome to Egg Shorts. I'm Kalen. With me is my father, Brandon. And how do you take care of animals in the winter? Like, I'm just gonna roll into it. People might say, "Hey, the cows and the horses, they're a little cold out there," and they are because it's like I don't know, 30 below, maybe even in extreme cases, and it happens nearly every winter, 50 below. What do they get to come in the barn? Do they get a blanket? Do they get a hot, meal or something like that? How do you take care of animals? I don't know. It's a question that
A
those
big
who may not be familiar might be asking.
a big trough of hot cocoa, right?
Yeah. Hot cocoa.
Oh, it's you know, we're all designed a little bit different and can do different things based on our body systems and ungulates in particular. And I had a college professor that first time I ever heard about it. It's like, how can these animals take this cold? Well, he had done research in elk, and I mean, there's wild stuff out there that people are doing things, and his stuff was on how the fat changes uh, from warmer weather to colder weather in ungulates, and typically their fat layers on their legs, mostly, and particularly in their legs, but there's not a lot of fat material there, will become more unsaturated in cold weather, so it doesn't isn't harder to keep from freezing up. Basically, think about fat on an animal's being white or you know thick, and warming up enough that it's no longer thick but it's viscous, and that kind of stuff happens. So some of your body systems help take care of themselves. Really, the best thing you can do is have good cover for them. If they've got some places to get down out of the wind, even the country we're at is fairly flat. I mean, there's not a lot of native trees in our area, but we've got draws or little coulees, little hills, and it's amazing. Those animals find where that wind is cut and has a more of an eddy on the other side, and they'll be up just inside of that, and they'll bunch up in those areas. They'll bunch up in light coulees and get out of the wind, because that's what we have here is a lot of wind. And the same with the cold. Uh, they don't necessarily bunch up. They can and sometimes will when it's super cold. And I think they're figuring out using a little bit of body heat, but they will just stand and they rely on their caloric intake, which that's where we come in. We want to make sure that they've got all of the mineral and salt they need for a good healthy body system, fresh water, fresh running water. And we don't normally chop ice because we have fresh springs that feed continually, which is really nice for a cow. You're talking that water's somewhere in the wintertime like that, around, by the time it comes down the pipe from that uh spring box, yeah, you're probably looking at 40-45 degree temperature on that water, which when it's 20 below, that's that's nice. I mean, that's a help. So fresh running water all the time to have as much water as they need, and then decent feed, and make sure you have enough feed for them. So we've talked in the past about what kind of a formula we have to figure out how much hay we're going to need for the winter, which is kind of a guessing game about the length of time we're going to need it, but having enough feed per animal and decent feed so that they have a body system that will stay warm. And colder weather, you have to feed them a little bit more because they go through it, they use it, and they increase those calories. In the same way the horses, they're very similar to the cows that way. It's same as you. If you're really cold and you
One
need
minute.
more calories, you're going to eat. That's what happens. And plenty of warm cocoa.
I always need my cocoa. So, all right. With that, that is how you take care of animals in the Montana winter, regardless of the temperature.